Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our nonprofit legislative briefing with Senate Majority Leader Schumer. My name is Chai Jindasurat. I'm the Vice President of Policy at Nonprofit New York, and my pronouns are he, him. I'll be getting us started with some housekeeping. At Nonprofit New York, we've been practicing visual accessibility, so I will first describe myself. I am a light-skinned, mixed-race, Southeast Asian and white man with a dark brown hair, wearing glasses, a tan blazer, and I'm sitting in front of a white brick wall. Please also note that captioning is available. The forum today is being recorded, and we plan to send a recording, survey, and legislative updates afterwards. You may enter questions via the Q&A, but due to time constraints, we will not be able to answer all questions in real time. However, we commit to reviewing everything we've received and sharing the questions with the Majority Leader. It is my pleasure to now introduce Tim Delaney, CEO of the National Council of Nonprofits.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Tim Delaney. As Chai said, I'm President and CEO of the National Council of Nonprofits, which is the largest network of nonprofits in the country. I'm an old white guy sitting here with silver hair, wearing a blue checkered shirt, sitting in front of a beige wall and a framed cactus flower. My preferred pronouns are he, him. On behalf of our network of more than 25,000 charitable nonprofits from coast to coast across the country, I congratulate New York Senator Schumer on becoming the Senate Majority Leader. The National Council is honored to co-host today's important conversation, along with our prominent members, the New York Council of Nonprofits and Nonprofit New York, because really we want to thank and express our personal appreciation to Leader Schumer for the key nonprofit provisions that he got into the CARES Act and the year-end COVID relief bill. Those two bills were exactly 9 months apart in terms of their passage. And there was one consistent voice throughout, and at times the only voice, and on behalf of the charitable sectors, and that was Senator Schumer. Time and time again, he stepped forward to help nonprofits. So we want to thank you, sir, for your leadership and your concern for charitable nonprofits in New York and across the country. I now turn things over to my board member and friend, Doug Sauer, CEO of the New York Council of Nonprofits. Doug?
Hello, everybody, and it's great to have over 1,400 people participating in this. I'm Doug Sauer, I'm CEO of the New York Council of Nonprofits. I can't tell you the color of the room. It's not what you see because I'm colorblind. I just know it's dark and I wear a black shirt. So and my preferred pronouns are he and him. I also want to thank Senator Schumer for all he's done because he really does understand nonprofit needs. And I don't know of any other representative in Congress or the Senate that knows needs like he does. If for those, whether you're downstate or upstate or suburban, he visits all of our communities. He meets with you. He meets with various nonprofit networks frequently. He understands our issues, and it's really it's to our benefit and our country's benefit, and to the nonprofit sector's benefit that he is majority leader and he's in this role. He's got quite the job. It's a critical moment in history, so what time he can spend with us is a time away from our country and nation and all that's going on, so we really do appreciate it. And I do want to turn it over to Meg Barnett, who's CEO and President of Nonprofit New York.
Thank you, Tim and Chai and Doug. Again, my name is Meg Barnett. Thanks to all of you for being with us here today. My name is Meg Barnett. My pronouns are she and her. I am the president and CEO of Nonprofit New York. I am a white woman with dark hair wearing a green dress in front of a bookcase. So have we heard from Juliana? Do we have the Senate Majority Leader with us?
It's John. Okay.
Okay. So I want to give special thanks and a huge welcome to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Can we just all bask for a moment in how fabulous that sounds? Yeah. Senator Majority Leader, yay. I've heard him say that he's the first senator from Brooklyn in 150 years, but I did some research and I figured out that he is the first Senate Majority Leader from Brooklyn ever. I'm a little Do we?
Well, I was just trying to tell the narrative arc of you fighting for that housing for the nonprofits.
Hi, Meg. Sorry. So
No
doing a
worries.
bit of troubleshooting. We're still waiting for the senator to join.
Okay.
Should be with us momentarily.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll just go on thanking him until he arrives. And so because we are thrilled beyond measure that the majority leader is able to join us during these historic first days of the Harris-Biden administration. And we are so grateful that amidst scheduling demands, as demonstrated here before us, that I can't even really begin to imagine he and his staff prioritize being here with us today. We know from his actions long before he was the majority leader that Senator Schumer recognizes the crucial role that nonprofits play in New York and beyond. Nonprofits are vital contributors to the economy. In New York City, we account for 9.4% of the GDP, and we're 18% of the private workforce. Nonprofits are central to the safety net. We've been helping communities respond to COVID-19 since day one, and we are ready to contribute to vaccination efforts with outreach and healthcare and public health campaigns in multiple languages to diverse communities and seniors. If the senator were here, I would say, tell us what you need. Nonprofits are critical to how we build community and make meaning together. And his insistence on Save Our Stages makes it clear that the majority leader understands that we need the arts always. Nonprofits are drivers of our multiracial democracy. We facilitate and motivate civil engagement and voter education. And despite recent terrifying threats, our republic has prevailed. But we know that keeping it, as Benjamin Franklin and Senator Schumer might say, is going to require work and focus from all of us. And the project before us is not just about rolling back bad actions and returning to normal. We have to have the courage to be the light, as Amanda Gorman told us. And that means finding the courage to hold ourselves accountable for translating anti-racist principles into meaningful practice in our organizations and in our sector. We have to think beyond what we've done before, and we must do more to both deserve and demand the support and recognition and respect that are warranted by the vital contributions that nonprofits make every single day. So I want to thank this majority leader again, but I think maybe I will pause for a moment.
Meg, Tim Delaney here. Again, I want to thank our friends in New York for your leadership that you all have been doing through both NICON and Nonprofit New York to make sure that your senators are informed, especially now given the power that they hold. But speaking of power, David Thompson, who's our mutual colleague, has been working on a national letter that was just submitted requesting certain actions by the administration and by this Congress. David, as we wait for the senator, might you just hit quickly what some of the asks are?
Absolutely, and thank you. Thank you, everyone. This morning, the nonprofit coalition sent a letter to Senator Schumer and President Biden and the other leaders in Congress, thanking them for their actions last year, supporting nonprofits, but highlighting 4 policy asks, priority policy asks that really need to be included in any COVID relief. And I wanted to, just while we have this moment, wanted to highlight to everyone, because we will ask you too to sign on to this letter. 75 nonprofits, many from New York, certainly Nonprofit New York and NICON signed on, as well as League of American Orchestras based there in New York City, and several other nonprofits. The 4 asks are: number 1, provide nonprofit specific grants, forgivable loans, refundable tax credits for all nonprofits. We've had a problem of the relief limited to nonprofits under 500 employees, or the second draw of Paycheck Protection Program, not fitting most nonprofits. We have specific asks in that category. That's one. Second is to strengthen the charitable giving incentives, broaden the above the line deduction that Senator Schumer has talked about on these calls before. Broaden it, extend it beyond, perhaps make it permanent. Also, the need to provide 100% unemployment benefit reimbursements for nonprofits. Many of you call. Yes. Well, we don't need to hear from me. One more was the provide the nonprofit community coming out strongly in favor of substantial financial aid for state and local governments. This is one that's has been a major policy goal, and the nonprofit community is weighing in support of that as well. I'll stop there.
Thank you, David. What have we heard, Chai?
Oh, yes, John.
Oh, we have the senator. We have the majority leader. So Meg,
Majority leader.
Hi, everyone. So sorry. Just one second.
okay,
Not
It is
a
a
problem.
crazy time.
we
over
understand.
here.
We
Can only imagine.
we know that, yeah, things have really changed in the past few weeks. So
I'll be with you in 1 second, everybody. It's a busy day.
Can only imagine.
understood.
Okay, I'm ready to roll.
Senator, thank you so much for being here. We have been enjoying saying Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, many times before you arrived. So we are so thrilled, and we're really I wish we could hear what he was saying.
Me too, guys.
You can swap one of our questions for that.
I think I'm ready now. Okay.
All right. Well, we
Go
are
ahead,
so
Meg.
ready, and we
Let
are
us
so
roll,
grateful.
Meg.
We're so grateful that you're here with us. Thank you. We can only begin to imagine what's on your plate right now. And the fact that you're here demonstrates your long-standing commitment to nonprofits, for which we're so grateful and appreciative. So thank you. And let's hear from you.
Great. Well, thank you, Meg, and thank Chai and Tim and Doug, the great job you all do. And I want to thank all of the nonprofits across, oh, Jesus. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm not going to answer it anymore. The hell with everything else. I want to thank all of you. I believe in nonprofits. First, because so many of you do so many good things that people need, and you do it so well, and you do it so selflessly, and you do it, you know, with the best of intentions. And second, I believe in you because you're part of our economy. You know, 20% of New York's economy is nonprofits. No one thinks of that, but it is true. And third, you do so much that neither the private sector, for-profit, or even the government can do, because you get into the nooks and crannies of things that nobody else can in the help you do. So I believe in you. To quote the Monkees, for those of you my age, remember the Monkees? I'm a believer. I'm a believer in you. And that's why I have fought for you for so long. And, you know, I'm the reason nonprofits are in the PPP bill, plain and simple. And I'm going to ask you one favor in return to all of the leaders and everyone on this call. Please let all your members, all your contributors, all your lists of people that you mail out to, just please send them an email or however you communicate that Chuck Schumer really helped us. You know, this is very important to me. You have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who either work for you or you help or contribute to you or whatever. Please just, everyone raise your hand if you promise you will do that. Raise your hands. And I'm going to ask Meg and Kai and Tim and Doug to make sure that happens. Tim and Doug, you don't have to do this across, or Tim, you don't have to do this across the country, just for New York, okay? But please make sure you do it. Okay, good. Now, first I'm going to begin with two little introductory remarks, and then we'll get into this stuff here. First, I have to talk about January 6th. That was such a traumatic moment for our country. And for me, it summed up the book, A Tale of Two Cities, where I think the first line, Charles Dickens, was, "It was the best of times and it's the worst of times." Here was my January 6th. As January 5th, Tuesday night, election night in Georgia, bled into January 6th, I stayed up, of course, because we were so concerned about these Georgia races. And of course, at 4 a.m., when it was announced that Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff had won, I jumped for joy. I was going to be majority leader, which, by the way, allows me to help you even more. But it was a great thing. I particularly was close to Warnock. I recruited him. He had been the pastor. He spent a few years in New York at a nonprofit, I guess, a religious nonprofit, the Abyssinian Baptist Church. And it was great. I went to bed, happy as could be, woke up at 7:30, got in my car, drove down to Washington, D.C. And I got on the floor of the Senate at 1. Within about 45 minutes, a police officer with a big bulletproof vest and a gigantic submachine gun across his waist grabbed me by the collar and said, "Senator, you're coming with me." I was within 30 feet of these hooligans, of these insurrectionists, of these white supremacists. So what a change. What a change. That was the 6th of January. And I'd say one more thing. We're going after everyone who invaded the building. And one way you can help, and the FBI has asked me to do this to everyone I talk to. They have a website that has 700 pictures of people in the building that they caught on video. And they're asking people to go to the website and look at it, because you never know. You say, well, how am I going to know one of these people? Well, and here's how they found people. Oh, that was my friend Harold. I went to high school with him. He moved to Indiana 20 years ago. And so just go, if you get a chance, look on the website. You never know. You never know. Anyway, we're going to go after these people and throw the book at them, both because they deserve it, and we want to serve it as a warning to any future insurrectionists who might try to do this again. Second, and of course, my view, this is political, and I know you're 501c3s and all that, but I'm glad that Donald Trump, we're going to make sure he goes on trial. And I hope the Senate will convict him, because then he can't run ever again, because we only takes 51 votes to do that. He did a horrible, he did the most despicable act of any president that I have known, that I have read about or known. Okay. Second, 2020, when Queen Elizabeth she gives an address right before Christmas to her British subjects. And in 1994, she called the year, she always gives it about the previous year, Annus Horribilis, horrible year, because Prince Charles and Diana were fighting all the time. Well, 2020 was our Annus Horribilis. First, the worst healthcare crisis in 100 years. Every one of us knows people who've passed away. Every one of us knows more than one person who's gotten sick, and some of them very seriously sick from this terrible illness. Second, it led, and you know this because of the good work you all do, it led to the greatest economic crisis since the Great Depression. Millions out of work, millions can't feed their kids, millions of small businesses struggling, hundreds of thousands down and gone, and so much other trouble, so much other trouble. And then third, we saw the horrible deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery show that the racial divisions in America, the bigotry is still very much with us. And it's something that we have to do much more about. A horrible year, a horrible year. But God works in beautiful and mysterious ways. The ending of the year had three good things. The first good thing was, this is my own politics, you don't have to comment, 501c3s. We're getting rid of Donald Trump. And as a New Yorker, I'm glad that he moved to Florida. We don't need him in New York. Okay, good riddance. Second, medical science did amazing. These scientists and all those people created a vaccine in record time. And this vaccine is a really good vaccine. 95% immunity rate. Very few side effects. I know particularly in communities of color, there's dubious about vaccines because people have been used as guinea pigs. Please spread the word. This is not that case, and this is very good. My parents, praise God, are 97 and 92, and when they turned 85, you know, when they made the rules over 85, I got them the vaccine, and they're fine. No side effects. So that happened. And third, we passed the COVID relief bill, which is helping you. And that's what I'm going to talk about mainly today. But in that COVID relief bill are lots of good things. And before I get to how it helps our nonprofits, I want to mention some other things. You know, I wrote the CARES Act. That's where I originally got the nonprofits as part of PPP back in March. And the trouble is that we thought that by the summer, COVID would be over. And all the programs that you needed and so many of the people you serve needed expired. And Mitch McConnell, frankly, just stood there, said, let's pause, I don't think we need it. And they just stood in the way. There were 15 or 20 Republicans who wanted no federal aid at all, zero. What finally pushed them over the edge was that the day after Christmas, had we not passed this bill, 12 million Americans would have lost their unemployment insurance. They had no jobs. And they would have been unable to feed themselves, their families, pay the rent, pay the mortgage, all the horrible things that happen when you have no money. So we got the bill passed, and the bill has some good things. First, let me talk to you about vaccines. There is now money in the bill, so every person gets a vaccine for free. And Donald Trump messed this up to a fairly well. They actually didn't do a bad job at producing the vaccines, although they let Pfizer and others off the hook and sell it overseas. But they did a horrible job of distributing it. So now in New York, we're out of vaccines. I just got off the phone with Jeff Zients, who's the czar, to make sure all of this happens, to try to get more vaccinations to New York, more vaccines to New York. But Joe Biden has made, so in the COVID bill is $69 billion for vaccines, for testing, for tracing. Everyone gets a free vaccine, and the states get lots of money to help them distribute it. But there are other good things in the bill which I'm going to touch on because you may or may not know. And then we extended unemployment insurance for 3 months so everyone can get it and keep it at the $300 addition. And as you know, in the original bill, I worked hard to include part-timers, freelancers, gig workers in it. They are included again. There are direct payments of $600 an individual, $1,200 for a couple, $2,400 for a family of 4. $600 isn't enough, in my opinion. It's quite certain that we will get it up to $2,000 in the next few months, and you can tell the people who need to know that. We got emergency rental assistance. New York State will get by the way, in all of these bills, New York does very well because I'm from New York and it's in my bones. So I write the formulas to help us. We're getting, of the 25 billion, we're getting 1.3 billion for rental assistance. So that there's a moratorium, which Joe Biden just extended, thank God. But moratorium does no good if you don't have any money to pay the rent. because then after the moratorium expires, you owe 6 months rent. This will help people pay the rent. Money for SNAP, those of you who help in the hunger community, SNAP got a significant increase. And here are two things that I help push into the program that people, money for transit. The MTA will not have to cut back on service in New York City or Long Island or the suburbs, and money for the upstate bus lines, which so many poorer people depend on. 10 billion for childcare. We got to get that way up. In the next bill, we're trying to get it to 50 billion. We got money for this is very good, the EITC and the CTC, that you can use your 2019 earnings and get the refundable money. That's very important, because if you didn't make money in 2020, it does you no good. 7 billion for broadband, half of which goes to poor communities in the inner city where there's no money for broadband. I talked to a mom, she bought her son a computer, but then lost her job and couldn't afford the monthly payments. It's a lot for a poorer person, and her kid can't go to school because it's virtual. So we did that. 81 billion for education. But here are two things you may not know, which are important. I got money for funerals. One of the things that just broke my heart was watching these videos of children and grandchildren saying goodbye to their parents and grandparents on Zoom because they couldn't be near them. But compounding the injury, lots of families who had no money couldn't give these people a burial or a funeral. FEMA allows it, but Trump wouldn't. I put it in the bill. There is now, families will get up to $7,000 for funeral and burial expenses. Let your constituencies know if that applies to you. And second, we got, this is again, just spread the word, Pell Grants. People who are incarcerated can get Pell Grants, which means that, people in prison who want to make a better life for themselves but couldn't afford any college course at all because they had no money will now get them because Pell will pay for it. So those are some good things in the bill. But the most important thing from your point of view in the bill is the extension of the PPP program, okay? And once again, I made sure the nonprofits were included. Oh, one other thing in the bill, no surprise medical billing. Yeah, that's important. You know how you'd go to the doctor, you'd say, is this covered by you'd have a procedure, an operation, is this covered by my insurance? Yes, and then you get a bill for $4,000. Well, the anesthesiologist wasn't in the plan. That's called a surprise bill. That's no longer allowed. This is a very good thing. Okay. We fought hard and we got the nonprofits in the bill again. And I want to go over everything. The two places we still have to do more, and I'll need your help. We worked very, very hard to get nonprofits over 500 employees included in the bill. And we passed it twice on the House floor, but congressional Republicans said, oh, if they're over 500 employees, they don't need money. So we got to get that in the bill, and we're going to try to make it retroactive in the next bill. If you have over, Meg, do some of the nonprofits have over 500 employees? Yes, but here's how we can help you. There's very good affiliation rules. So if you have 500 employees, but let's say you have 200 in Queens under one roof and 200 in Bronx under another roof, you might be able to call them two different affiliates. So we should look at that, okay? We do have for over 500, the ERTC was increased from 50% to 75%. So that will help you to supplant money for your employees who you can't pay. But we're going to fight for that assistance as well. And the only other disappointment in the bill, and this is a big one, is we did get 501c6s and housing co-ops in the bill, but we did not get the other 501cs, the fours, I don't know what other numbers they are, the fives. If you are one of those, we're going to try to get you in the next bill, but right now you're not in the bill, and we're going to try to get that done. Now, here's what's in the bill that's all the good stuff. We got $15 billion for CDFIs and MDIs, Community Development Financial Institutions and Minority Development Institutions, and microloan funds to expand underserved borrowers like you. If you're a small nonprofit and you don't know how to apply for this stuff, These two groups are dedicated to helping you. And I am going to send Meg a list of all of them. We're going to send you a sheet on all this, which you can get out to every nonprofit, Meg. And we will send you a list of all the CDFIs and MDIs in different parts of the state and how people can call, because these people are dedicated to helping you get the money. Some of them, you may know some of them, the National Development Council's Grow America Fund, True Fund Financial Services, Axion East, BOC Capital, Global Capital is an MDI, Minority Development Institution. So to get PPP, if you have a bank, you work with your bank. But all these institutions, if you don't have a bank, will be available to you. And please go to them. And if people are having trouble, Meg, they can call my office and we can try. John Cardinal, who has done an amazingly fabulous, you know John, some of you, right? He should get a virtual round of applause because he worked so hard to get the nonprofits and do it as good as you can, okay? We're going to provide you with a guide on the details of PPP and other relief, including which lenders are participating and how you can work with community lenders if your organization has challenges with accessing. Here's another thing you should know about PPP. If you got rejected in the first round, you can apply again and get the first and second rounds. A lot of our nonprofits got rejected the first time only because the way Trump set it up, if you were a big fat cat, you did a lot better than if you were a smaller nonprofit. And if you didn't apply the first time, or you did and were rejected, you can get round 1 and round 2. So you get double the money and double the time. Please let people know that. A lot of people think since they were rejected the first round, they can't get it, but they can get both. Okay? The first loan amounts are 2.5 times your average monthly payroll cost. It goes up to $10 million in size. The second are still 2.5, but now they're capped at 2 million. Okay? There are new eligibility requirements for the second loan that are a little tighter. You gotta, okay, you have to show a revenue loss of 25% or more just for 1 quarter of 2019 versus 2020. So even if you didn't have 25% revenue loss in quarters 1, 2, and 4, if you had it in 3, you're eligible. And again, the PPP, the CDFIs and MDIs can help you figure this out. Okay? We're trying to reduce the revenue loss level to as low as possible. Susan Collins, who was head of the Small Business Committee, wanted it high. We managed to get it down to 25. She had 35. But guess the good news. Not only am I majority leader, but Ben Cardin becomes head of the Small Business Committee instead of Marco Rubio. And Ben Cardin is totally on our side on nonprofits. Marco Rubio isn't. Okay? Both loans, both of these forgivable, you know, these grants, they're really grants. They're forgivable loans, but that's another thing. The Biden administration is going to make the forgiveness much, much easier. You can just almost snap your fingers and you'll be forgiven. So that's going to be good and easy as well. And they can be used for the following: utilities, rent, mortgage, payroll, full-time or part-time, and if you get 2 loans, you can go for 16 weeks. If you got 1 loan, it's another 8 weeks, as you know. Okay? If you have a 1099 contractor, they're not included as part of your workforce, but they can apply separately. So if you'll go to your CDFI and MDI or whoever else helps you, let them apply on their own and they'll get money too. Okay? And that makes you, for those of you close to the 300 or 500 employee cap, that should help you. As I said, they're fully forgivable. You just have to follow the requirements, and you spend 40% of the amount on non-payroll expenses and 60% on payroll. The original requirement was 75-25. We changed it to 60-40. That's true for the first loan and the second loan. The bill extends the PPP through March 31st. So you have to apply before March 31st. It also creates a dedicated fund for very small businesses and nonprofits with 10 or fewer employees. Many of you, I take it, Meg, on this call are organizations who work with a lot of nonprofits, right?
We're a mix, yes.
Yes, so please let these little nonprofits who have 10 employees or not, that they get special help. And the forgiveness process, as I said, is made much, much easier. In addition, the bill includes $20 billion for idle grants. I had to fight for this, but you are eligible for idle grants. All nonprofits are eligible for idle grants. It provides you with a $10,000 grant for working capital there are no restrictions. It's pretty free. You can use it for what you want. It's in addition to the PPP, and you can get both. You don't need one or the other. You also have to have fewer than 300 employees. Okay, that's the idle grant. Now, an idle grant, you go directly to the SBA. You don't go through a bank. But again, the CDIs and the CDFIs and the MDIs, the Community Financial Development Institutions and the Minority Development Institutions, can help you do that. So this is all very, very good. You can get more money. I'd like to see as much of New York get the money as possible. And again, my office, A, will send you a sheet, which you can distribute to everyone, but B, will send you how to reach us if you're having trouble. Okay? I'm ready, Meg, if I may have left a thing out or two, but I'm ready for questions.
Okay, that's great. I'm going to turn things over to Chai.
Hi,
Hi,
John.
hi, Senator. Nice to see you again. Thank you so much, as always, Majority Leader. Really quickly, I want to respond. I think that there was a question about ASL interpretation. So I want to be accountable to that and just say that we're not able to add a presenter once we've started, but we can connect directly, and we'll do that for future events. Captioning is available for this
And Chai, if
forum.
people have questions that we can't answer, if you send them to us, if you guys don't know the answer, we will get it to you. Okay?
Perfect. Thank you so much. And you know, we do have some folks who are lined up to speak. I was going to provide a very quick overview of some of our high-level nonprofit priorities. Again, congratulate you. We're so thrilled that you're the majority leader. Shout out again to John. John has been wonderful through all of this. Julieta, Megan, Sophia, you are really a model of an accessible government leader.
By the way, Chai, thank you. So John Cardinal's the expert on this, but Julieta is our director of outreach for the state. So you can get in touch with either of them, okay? Julieta Lopez or John Cardinal.
Thank you. All right. So I was going to talk about a lot of the things you've already covered. And I was also going to talk about the state's fiscal situation. Yes. And just how much has changed since in the past. It's been about 6 months since we've had a legislative briefing with you, but I'll just ask Melkus to please pull up the slide on the nonprofit priorities. And then I want to give a big thank you to the close to 1,000 nonprofits who are here today and who sent me their legislative priorities and questions. We received more ideas, solutions, and concerns than we'll be able to cover, but please be assured I have shared your questions and priorities with the Senator and his team. Senator, please just know that the nonprofit sector is full of ideas, creativity, on-the-ground experience that the state and our nation will really need to recover. And so please continue to partner with us in that recovery.
Well, let me tell you, as long as I am senator and even as long as I am alive, I will partner with you. We will be like this because I believe in you and you do such great work.
And we're so lucky for that.
Okay.
So really quickly, next slide, please, Melkus. And thank you to Melkus, who is.
So let me answer these. Should I answer these?
Yeah, well, sure. I know that actually, let me give our first questioner a chance to ask, because I believe that our first questioner is Patricia Kennedy, who will be able to speak to how the state budget is impacting Patricia's organization.
Go ahead, Patricia.
Okay, great. Got to get off mute. Hi, Senator Schumer. I want to thank you for creating and sustaining the connections that you have with all communities across our state. I'm the CEO of Springbrook, and we're located in Oneonta, serving 14 counties in that region. And you've been to our county every year, and we thank you for that. I mean that. It's so important to us in the rural communities.
Yeah, even
I
this
also-
year, Patricia, even though there was COVID, I visited every one of the 62
I
counties.
know you did, and we thank you. It is meaningful, it's understood, and it's certainly recognized. I also want to thank you about your advocacy on behalf of individuals with developmental disabilities. And Springbrook is a provider of services for people with developmental disabilities. So as you know, New York State has experienced a significant decline in revenue and a massive budget deficit in 2020, which caused the state to withhold 20% of payments for nonprofit contracts. The people that I have the honor of representing here today are among the most fragile and marginalized New Yorkers, those with intellectual and developmental disabilities, their families, and the thousands upon thousands of essential employees who support them each and every day. For years, our sector has provided services, I think, with dignity, with professionalism, with compassion, exceptional services, despite working within the narrowest of margins, facing cuts, being overlooked at times when funds are distributed. COVID-19 has served to only highlight and exaggerate the flaws within our system. Throughout this pandemic, Springbrook and hundreds of like organizations have continued to support the lives of hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers at significant cost to our employees, who are working with people who are at profoundly higher risk of not only contracting the virus, but from dying from it, 3 times the amount of the typical population of our participants have died. Our employees are supporting others while they're struggling to support themselves and their families. These withholdings and further proposed cuts have severely impacted our ability as the trusted organization to fully support our essential employees and the citizens who rely on our services. President Biden has committed $35 billion in his American Rescue Plan as aid to state and localities.
No, Patricia, 350 billion.
Oh, I got that wrong. I can't count
You don't want
that
to
high.
shortchange yourself.
I can't count that high. I was born in Brooklyn. I can't count that high.
What neighborhood? What neighborhood?
Flatbush.
Me
And
too.
my mom went to the high school, your high school.
Madison.
Yep, she did, and proud of it. Proud of it. She tells me all the time.
You know, I tell people, my fame in Madison, I was on the basketball team. And do you know what our motto was?
What?
We may be small, but we're slow.
Well, I'll have to remember that. So my question, Senator Schumer, is this. Will New York receive and justly distribute the $15 billion we need to restore our budget?
Yeah.
And we need that.
Yes. Well, state and local money is it's the number one thing McConnell left out that we couldn't get in the bill at all. Now, I did sneak money to the state and make sure they don't say they don't have it. We got about $12 billion last year through education, through mass transit, through healthcare. You know, we couldn't get direct aid, but we are fully committed to getting the $350 billion. I've spoken to President Biden about it. I've spoken to Speaker Pelosi about it, and we are 100% committed to getting the $350 billion. And then I will help write the formula so New York gets a very good share of that money. Absolutely. So I am very hopeful that we will get that done. It's a very high priority, and it affects you. It affects everything. The schools get money, the nonprofits get money, so many different services get money, and we need to make sure we get that money. So it's number one on my list in what was left out of the old bill.
Thank you. Ours as well. Thank you, Patricia and Majority Leader Schumer. Next, we will hear from Anna Glass, Executive Director of Dance Theater of Harlem.
Hi, Anna.
Hi, how are you, Senator Schumer?
I've been to the Dance Theater of Harlem.
Well, you are honored to hear that. Thank you so much, sir. Just a quick accessibility check. I'm a Black woman in a yellowish room wearing glasses, and my pronouns are she, her. Senator Schumer, I am so honored to be in your presence virtually. As Chai introduced, I proudly serve as Executive Director of Dance Theater of Harlem. I'm also here wearing a hat as a board member of the Association of Performing Arts Professionals, which is a membership organization representing over 10,000 performing arts professionals, as well as Culture at 3, which is a collective of over 700 New York City cultural organizations ranging from Carnegie Hall to Mind Builders Creative Arts Center in the Bronx. And just to take a quick moment, Senator Schumer, Culture at 3 is a collective of organizations that came together at the start of the pandemic, something unheard of. We have never all come together in this particular way. We are a mobilized unit of cultural leaders representing all 5 boroughs. And I want you to know, on our meeting, we have a meeting for every day, 4 days a week, actually not Friday, we take the day off. We spoke about a campaign thanking you publicly. So we are all actually going to be mobilized to thank you to our constituents. So I just wanted to let you know that we have already discussed that. So we are already on top of that.
As usual, you're ahead of the game.
Thank you. Well, I also want to thank you for Save Our Stages.
Yes.
You know, you have come out really strong for the arts and cultural sector. So I just want to thank you so much for that.
Did you see I wore my Save Our Stages?
We did see that. We all saw that. And we talked about it in the meeting, actually. We did see that you were representing all of us. So thank you. Just quickly, a bit of background, and you already know all of this, Senator Schumer, that the arts and culture industry has been profoundly hit. The unemployment rate of artists is way above the national average. Artists who are Black, Indigenous, people of color have been even higher unemployment rates. And you also know that we are an industry that has historically brought in over $800 billion. We have supported 5 million jobs. We represent 4.5% of the nation's economy. You know all of this. I know I'm preaching to the choir.
I always tell my colleagues not interested in the arts, you're forgetting it's an economic engine as well as a cultural engine, as well as enriching our lives.
You're absolutely right. And you know what? We're job multipliers. So those are the big key pieces that I want to just throw in there. I also just want to share with you, you know, I was so proud, you know, as someone representing arts and culture, to see the National Youth Poet Laureate, Amanda Gorman, speak at the inauguration. She was brilliant.
No, a
she
genius.
was brilliant.
She's like Albert Einstein almost.
Well, and she represented the millions of us out there. And one of the things that she said that it just spoke to me, she said, so while we once asked, how could we possibly prevail over catastrophe? Now we assert, how could catastrophe possibly prevail over us? And that is how the arts and culture sector feels. So what I want to ask you, Senator Schumer, is this. As Congress takes up infrastructure and recovery packages, which you've already spoken to, where do you see the opportunities in this new Congress around investment in the creative economy and workforce? Right. And are you willing to ensure that the creative economy is explicitly included in existing and future policy rules and regulations that unlock access to federal funds for artists, independent producers, creative workers, businesses working in communities, especially the rural and urban communities, as well as the states and local municipalities that we all serve? So it's a mouthful, but you know, we see there's an opportunity for us to be integrated in the ways that you have already smartly done.
So first, there are special programs for the arts, the National Endowment for the Arts, the National Endowment for the Humanities. Actually, in this past bill, I got them increases, but that's not enough. I agree with you. They give money to different organizations. It's very, very good, but we will try to go beyond that. And that's what we have to do. You know, the second bill, the first bill we're doing, that Biden, the 1.9 billion, that's for emergency relief, you know, unemployment, small bit. But the second bill is Build Back Better. And Build Back Better is talking about long-term permanent jobs. And the arts are going to be part of that if I have anything to do with it, as a job and economic engine. You know, building a road or building a windmill, great. But building the arts, human capital, is every bit as important. And guess where it's probably the state that it's the most important?
New York.
New York. Tim, you don't have to say anything. Tim's the national guy. But it is. And so you know, and here's what people don't realize, and it was nice to hear from Ms. Kennedy from Oneonta. The arts are an important part of the economy of many of our smaller communities too. You know, I went to the Westbrook Theater in the poorer part of Syracuse. It's an economic engine for the whole place.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't know if someone's on there for them. Did someone say something? Anyway, so we will integrate the arts fully into a jobs program and help artists. You know, one of the things I was able to do for the unemployment bill is include freelancers and gig workers and things like
Yes,
that.
thank you for that.
So many of the people in those groups are art related. Save Our Stages obviously is going to help artists dramatically, and that's $15 billion. And let me tell you how hard that was to muscle that through. You know, oh, it's frivolous, oh, this, oh, that. And they kept putting all kinds of restrictions on it, so it couldn't work. But John Cardinal and I successfully fought to get it much, much fuller. And we'll probably try to increase that as well. But I look for your specific ideas. We have some, which I'll share with you. You have some of integrating the arts so people understand, just like building a bridge, dealing with either dealing with capital construction in the arts, or more importantly, the human capital in the arts, is every bit as important to our economy.
Thank you, sir. We are ready to support you.
Thank you. And thank you for telling those 700 people. That's very good. Make sure they tell all their constituents.
We absolutely will. We absolutely will. And
I
we'll make sure
believe
you're
you, Anna.
tagged so you can see it.
Okay, great.
Take care.
Who's next?
Thank you,
Sorry.
Anna, and thank you, Majority Leader Schumer. Okay, so I know we're tight on time, so
Now,
we
I have
two-
another, we're trying to figure out some things about the floor of the Senate. So I have till 5 o'clock, if that's okay.
Well, we were very interested in those phone conversations, but I'm going to give you the option of the two issue areas. So Brian is going to ask about budgetary issues or unemployment reimbursement, and then Richard is a social work intern who was going to ask about affordability. I'll give it to you as to
I'll
how
do
much
both.
time you.
If
Okay,
they can each be quick and go one after the other, then I'll answer both together. How's that?
perfect.
Thank you, Senator Schumer. My name is Brian Doyle. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for Family Services, serving the Mid-Hudson Valley. I am the proud colleague of 250 men, women, and other individuals who are serving our community under very dire and difficult circumstances. We all applaud your ascension to the position of Senate Majority Leader, and know that you will lead this country along with President Biden and Nancy Pelosi in the direction that it now needs to go. I am a white male who is marking 50 years in human services. And one question I have, or one issue I'd like to bring up, is the fact that many nonprofits are being asked to pay 50% of the total cost for the enormous unemployment claims made possible by the pandemic. And we are hoping that you and your colleagues will be working on that. I also want to bring up the issues that we are confronting every day, and that is in our services for victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. There's further isolation and further incidents of that type of violence that we see as the pandemic proceeds. Our youth are left adrift without the ability to go to school because schools are not yet open to the fullest extent that they can be. And yet our youth service funding has actually shrunk in New York State. And so we so implore you and your colleagues to ensure that there is more state and local aid that is coming to New York State. As I said, these children are left adrift. These are children who are already victims of adverse childhood experiences that are only multiplied by the pandemic and the difficult economic circumstances that their families face. On the behavioral health front, we are seeing greater incidents of depression and anxiety, of course, and we appreciate the relaxation of the telehealth requirements or telehealth abilities that we now have. And then finally, under the PPPL loan program, we are at risk, as are many, many other recipients, because there's so much uncertainty around what is going to be done around the prospect of clawback because of Medicare and Medicaid. That's a complex complex topic. It's one that
We're
we hope
fighting that. We don't
your
want
staff
any,
will undertake.
we don't want any clawback. People shouldn't be penalized. But I'll get to the rest of these very soon. Go
Thank
ahead,
you,
Richard.
Senator.
And then I'll answer everything, but I'm with you. Richard?
All right, hello. Thank you so much. And it's so nice to meet you, Senate Majority Schumer. And thank you for attending this briefing today. So my name is Richard. My pronouns are they and he. And for accessibility, I'm wearing a navy blue button-up shirt with large glasses. I have tan skin, short black hair. And I'm here as a social work intern representing the New York City Anti-Violence Project. All right, so Senator Schumer, as you know, the pandemic and recession has exacerbated many inequalities in our nation. Nonprofits have shared major concerns about affordability and equity, from housing to education to vaccine access. And I have seen this firsthand with the work that I currently do with LGBTQ and HIV affected clients at the Anti-Violence Project. And since the start of the pandemic, there's been a spike of people experiencing violence that have become homeless and are in need of affordable housing. As the first generation college student myself, the pandemic has also made it difficult for me to get through my master's program due to financial costs, and I have worries about finding financial stability with the current job market. So onto my question, I know you previously mentioned the current work you're doing with nonprofits, but can you speak more about your future plans to make life, including higher education and housing, more affordable for New Yorkers?
Yes, okay, let me answer both. And one thing I forgot to mention in reference to Ms. Kennedy's question, but all of yours, I just got, this is the example of when you have Biden and Schumer. I got them to give $1 billion extra to New York City and $1 billion extra to New York State by raising the FEMA to 100%. And we're getting the state some money. Don't let them say they're not getting any. They need more, and I'm fighting for more, but they're not getting zero. You should know that. Okay. Now, in reference to both questions, first, I certainly, we got the unemployment benefit reimbursement up to 50%, but in reference to your first question, Mr. Doyle, we should try to get it to 100. You're so right. You can't afford this during this time. So we're on your side all the way, and in the next bill, we will try to do that. By the way, another thing we did, which isn't in here, we did get the contribution above the line to go from 300 to 600. And that's going to increase, average folks' ability to give more 501c3 contributions. So that is very important as well. I'm just throwing out all these things at once. We have to, I want to do more for college. Elizabeth, you should all know this and spread the word. Elizabeth Warren and I are asking President Biden to forgive $50,000 of student debt for every student debtor. It's huge. And guess who's most affected? Poorer people in communities of color. 40% of the wealth gap is related to this issue. 40%. So it's very, very important that we try to get this. And I would ask everybody here, if you have a chance, among everything else, to email the president and say, we need this. He can do it with a flick of a pen. We don't need legislation. Now, in terms of, Mr. Doyle, you had so many things, I forgot some of them, but help with the social services you're talking about are very, very, very much needed. And the kinds of things where they try to penalize you because they don't realize it, what you mentioned about Medicare and Medicaid, was definitely want to undo. In reference to both your questions, I am pushing something which I will share with you, called the Economic Justice Act. It's $435 billion, more than that has ever gone to the inner city. And it will address the inequalities that Richard and you mentioned in our society across the board. It's huge. And what it would do in inner city communities is give $50 billion for childcare, $40 billion for community health care, $28 billion for federally supported jobs and training for at-risk youth, $20 billion in capital and support for minority-owned businesses, $200 billion in infrastructure, such as high-speed internet. We believe every home in the inner city, as well as every home in rural America, should get the internet, okay? Franklin Roosevelt said, Franklin Roosevelt in the 1930s said every home should have electricity, it's a necessity. We say every home should have broadband. I just met a mother who, you know, she bought her kid a computer, she struggled, and then she lost her job and couldn't pay the fee. And the kid can't go to school because it's virtual. You know, what heartache, you know, with such aspiration. Okay, I don't want to. 40 billion in new homeowner credits, 30 billion for renters, 15 billion in Medicaid expansion, 15 billion in maternal mortality and health. And listen to this, which, well, I mentioned the broadband. There was one more thing I wanted to mention that I've heard. Anyway, oh yeah, every school in the inner city should have a after school and a night center. I hung out, my father was an exterminator, didn't go to college, you know, we didn't have much. But at night, I was taken care of because I went to the Madison High School Night Center and I played basketball. And I hung out in a constructive way. We need all our kids in the inner city to be able to go to a constructive place. Every school should have a night center. So that's part of this bill too. So it's a great thing. It's a big vision. I'll send it to you, Meg, and you can send it out to people. But so much of everything of all what you do would be covered by it. So I'm going to conclude if you don't mind, because we're a little past and they're calling me and I see my staff. You see them through that mirror door? That means I have to make some kind of important decision.
All right. Well, we could not be more grateful, and we are so thrilled. And thank you for all that you have done and all that we know you will be doing in these very urgent and important days ahead. So we feel very lucky to have you on our side, and we are also eager to be helpful in ways that we can. So
Great.
Thank you
Let's
so
have
much.
another discussion in about 3 months. I enjoy these discussions and I learn from them. So let's do it more regularly than every 6 months. Okay?
Thank you.
Love
Great.
that.
Noted.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
everybody.
much.
Thank you,
Keep well,
Majority
and a good
Leader.
2021 to you all.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Same
you.
to
Thank
you.
you.
Congratulations.
All right. So, wow. What an hour. Thank you all, everyone, to everyone who has joined us. So as the senator said, let's get ready to work together this year. That concludes our briefing. I hope everyone has a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you, Chad.
Good night,
To
everyone.
everybody.
Great weekend.
Thanks for